Hello, I'm Joanne Bester, and this is the second episode to our Regen series. Today we have the privilege of visiting Roland Kroon on his farm Excelsior in the Graaff-Reinet area. Roland Kroon could perhaps be considered as the pioneer in the industry for holistic management, and it is an absolute privilege to be able to spend time with him. He has a personal relationship with Alan Savory and is also an accredited trainer at the Savory Institute. Good morning, Roland. Thank you so much for taking the time of your day to be able to explain these processes to us. We are looking forward to hearing about the 4 key insights about regenerative farming.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. Thanks for you and your team for taking the trouble to come out and do this interview. I must say it's the first time in many, many years that there's somebody in the downstream of the value chain that's really taking this stuff seriously, because it is absolutely important for not only our lifestyles but for the generations beyond ours. So quite often we've got to step back a little bit and look at what the origin of this is. Why is this so important? And it really arose in a quest for answers to why, despite the highest levels of education, knowledge, money, resources, technology the world has ever seen, we are still losing species at an accelerating rate. We are desertifying faster than ever before, despite all these good things and the good intentions. And so holistic management is a product of Alan Savory's life, 50, 60 years of trying to find out what it is that's holding this all together. And in order to start with that, there's what we call the 4 key insights, which are like the lenses to which you've got to look at the world. And I'll go through them very quickly. The first is the concept of holism, and that really implies that everything is connected. You and me are connected because we're sitting here, the energy between us. Our families are connected. Nature is interconnected. What happens on the top of my mountain up here in terms of how I manage that water flow will impact the health of the communities downstream because of the quality of the water. Nature is infinitely complex. We can't ever hope to understand it. We can only ever hope to manage it. So let's understand that when we're dealing with nature, we've got to regard everything as interconnected. If you move a little thing here, it's going to impact somewhere you don't even know, you don't imagine possible. So holism is the first key insight. The second key insight is what we call brittleness, which really refers to the average distribution of humidity throughout the year. So if we look at a very simple example, London, we all know London is supposedly, they say the 2 best days in London is Christmas and summer, because the rest of the time it's 1 millimeter a day. But strangely enough, London has a lower rainfall than Johannesburg. Johannesburg's rainfall happens in probably 2-3 months and then nothing outside of that. So in terms of the brittle environment, it impacts on how carbon cycles. So a non-brittle environment like the UK will advance its succession. Carbon is cycling permanently. There's a leaf drop permanently. There's lots of microbial action all the time because of humidity. In the brittle environments, the low humidity areas, you normally have a very short period of very intense plant growth, either the rain season, followed by a long period of dry spell, which has to be managed. So in that drought time, microbes can't cycle carbon. So if you think about this whole carbon journey, if we're not putting that carbon into the soil, we're constipating the carbon cycle. So we need to understand brittleness. And what's really important about the brittleness understanding is how our tools of management impact brittle and non-brittle environments. The same management tool will have a totally opposite impact on the brittle and non-brittle environments. So let's take the tool of non-disturbance, and we take all animals out of an area. In a non-brittle environment, it will advance to succession. It will go up to forest. In a brittle environment, the drier it is, the less disturbance, the land actually deteriorates. The same management tool has 2 totally opposite impacts. The third key insight is the role of herding animals in these brittle environments, because the role of herding animals is to cycle that carbon. So you've got the the growing season, high growth of plant material. Now you need something in the dormant season to cycle that. So either the ruminant's gut, which is full of microbes, or the soil microbes being able to access the plant material. So basically trampling and putting down in the soil. So that's the third key insight. The fourth one is time control. It's really important that we understand time control is within our management, and time control determines and governs the health of landscapes. So if we use our animals to manage our grazing with time control, we will stop overgrazing. In other words, we will allow plants to recover by removing the animals. They're grazing them and they're moving off, and the plants will recover. If you have animals on the landscape all the time, you have what we call overgrazing, and that takes place permanently. So plants are being grazed and then regrowing and being grazed again. Once that happens, you sacrifice root reserves and you effectively are impacting plant health. So that's the four key insights that we need to use to inform us in terms of our regenerative journey. If we understand those four, it'll make all our other decision making easier. Okay, so how does time control actually affect us in our day-to-day management? So if we look at what overgrazing is, overgrazing has nothing to do with animal numbers. We've all been told it's too many animals. It's not too many animals. It's too much time that the plants are exposed to grazing animals. Plants and animals evolve together. They are not antagonistic. They need each other for health and for survival. So what we have in conventional management is we have low animal numbers dotted around the landscape all year round, and so plants are being overgrazed because we've got one little plant being grazed, comes up again, gets grazed again. That's overgrazing. But at the same time, we're having understocking or periods of non-disturbance, or the role of herding animals, carbon isn't cycling. So you've got these animals walking between the plants. So you've got massive over-rested plants and massive overgrazing taking place side by side at the same time. And that's what led John Aycox to coin the phrase that South Africa is understocked and overgrazed. So too few animals with no time control. So if we change that around, it unleashes a tool of enormous power.
So now we have an understanding of the 4 insights to regenerative farming. Next episode, we'll be looking at the 4 ecosystem processes that Roland Kroon will also be discussing with us.